Hola, bienvenidos una más a mi canal. Yo soy Mariana Buquer y en esta ocasión no me lo van a creer, estoy con Marie Lu. Estoy muy emocionada, como pueden ver. Tengo una pequeña obsesión con ella desde hace muchos años y pues vamos a hablar un poquito de sus libros, desde Legend, desde Sky Hunter, desde todos los libros que ha estado publicando a la fecha y planeé varias preguntitas para hacerles. So we're going to start now speaking in English. So the first question is how are you feeling being here in Mexico? Is your first time?
It is my first time in Mexico, so I am really excited to be here. This is my first time meeting my readers in Mexico. I know this is a trip that we've been planning for a long time, so I'm really, really happy to be here.
And we're so happy for first you being here.
Thank you.
It's like a dream for me.
I
was telling you before, but I don't know if most of them know that I started reading you, and you were you raised me in some kind of way, because I started reading Legend, and then I moved to the Young Elites, and those are one of my favorite series of all time.
Thank you.
They have a lot of meaning to me. So wonderful to see you. And actually, this is a fun fact. My first TikTok and my first review that I did was Legend.
Really?
Really. And I have it in my drafts. So you're going to be like, hi.
Yeah. That means so much. Thank you.
Yeah, for me as well, it's like how life can be. Like once you start reading, then you start a channel talking about books, and then you start being very good.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
No, thank you. And now I have a couple of questions here. I have read most of them. No, I think I'm not read almost all of them. But I have a question that which of all of these series that you have written do you feel like it took you the most effort?
That was the most difficult to write. I would say there's two series, and I'm so happy that you mentioned the Young Elites, because that was definitely the most difficult series that I've had to write. Mainly because the story centers around a villain. It's told from a villain's point of view, and it's about a girl named Adelina who falls to the dark side, and I love my girl Adelina, but she is dark, and it's hard to be in her headspace. So I really struggled writing her, and she and I fought a lot when I was writing that series. That was very difficult. And then the other difficult one was Sky Hunter. The Sky Hunter, the duology. I loved the book so much, but it was very, very challenging to write because it had a lot of really heavy themes about war and about what happens to people in war. And it was also what I was writing during the pandemic. So it was like we were surrounded by darkness. I was writing this dark story too much. So that was really hard too.
It was too much for you.
It was, yeah.
You were trying to escape in another world. I
was escaping into another dark world. Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm so glad to say this because I cannot usually say that I understand, because you're talking about in general of all your books, and I have read them. So sometimes some authors they say some other saga, and I'm like, oh yeah, but I don't understand. But now I completely understand. That makes me so happy.
Oh, thank you.
Because Adelina, she's so wonderful, and it broke my heart in every piece. But I totally get it.
I'm so glad.
Adelina is one of my favorite characters of all time. Yeah,
that means a lot.
She's so gray. I don't know if that has the same meaning.
Yes, it does. Very morally gray.
Yeah, morally gray. Yeah, she is. And she's one of my favorite characters of all time.
I'm so glad
you did a really great job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And her sister as well. I love their duo.
Yeah, they were complicated.
And now talking in general of your books, which of your books has the greatest sentimental value for you?
Oh, that's hard. It's like choosing my favorite child. Yeah. I think Legend has a lot of sentimental value for me because it was my first baby, so it was the first one that got published, and I have such a clear memory of writing that book. And at the time I was working in video games, and I had a full-time job, and I was trying to write this book. And so I remember I was sneak writing in my emails. So I had my email drafts open, and I would just be writing in my cubicle. And so people will walk, they're like, she's always writing emails. And so I just these long emails to myself, and they were chapters of Legend during my lunch break or whatever. And that was how I got the book done. So I have a lot of kind of rosy memories of being an inspiring writer writing Legend.
And how did Legend start? The idea that just came up?
Legend began as a riff on Les Miserables. So I was watching the old movie version of Les Miserables, the one with Liam Neeson in it, and I just had a thought of, it would be really fun to write a teenage version of this story, like a teen criminal versus a teen detective in a cat and mouse chase. And then later on, I added in this dark futuristic world that they were in. But that was the seed for it. And then it grew into 4 somehow.
Actually, that was one of my questions, and now I'm gonna ask it because we're talking about legend. Is I finished Champion. I don't know how to say, like, I don't know if I finished Champion or Champion finished me. Because it was like so overwhelming in so many emotions that I had when I read Champion. Not because one was one of my first books written in English. It was like a really like a goal for me that I couldn't even imagine that I could do that in some way. So
I'm so honored.
Yeah, it was one of my first books reading in English, and then it broke my heart. It was the first book in English to break my heart. And then you gave us Rebel.
Yeah.
Why? Because they took so many years. Like, I don't know how many, like 8?
It took 6 or 7 years between the two. So that's a really great question, because when I don't outline my books out. I don't know if it's obvious, but I don't really know what's going to happen when I begin a book. So when I began Legend, I didn't know that Champion was the ending. And when I got to Champion, I thought that was the ending that I wanted. And for a long time I did. And I thought, I like the open-endedness. I like the question of will they, won't, I like that there were a lot of things left open at the end of that book. And I thought that was it. That was in the year 2014 or something like that. And then, fast forward a couple of years, and I live in the US, and US politics has gotten very dark. And very conflicting, starting in 2016. I was in a very moody headspace. I felt very powerless of things that were happening in the real world around me. And I found myself thinking about Day and June a lot, and thinking about them as real people. Like, how are they doing? Are they okay out there? And then as I kept asking myself these questions, I was getting a lot of questions from readers as well. It was the number one question that I would get is, what happens after Champion?
Yeah.
And I began to realize that I hadn't finished the series. And I realized that I had questions of my own that I wanted answered. And so it's almost like an organic process. The characters talk to me in a way. And I knew that I wasn't done telling their story, and they still had something to say to me. And I think what I wanted to know was, like, are you going to be okay? I wanted to know if they were going to be okay, and they wanted to tell me. So that's why I started writing Rebel, and I needed closure, and I think my readers needed closure, and I think my characters needed closure. So that's why I wrote it.
Yeah, I think I needed a closure as well, because it was so like an open ending.
It was.
And sometimes I don't like to imagine what things can happen, because Champion, it really broke my heart. Those last lines. I still remember those lines, and I read Champion in 2014, I think, or 15. I don't remember exactly the year, but I still remember those lines because they broke my heart in so many pieces.
I'm sorry.
So
thank you.
when I found out that Rebel was coming out, I was like, yes, some miracle happened. Like, because they took so many years. I finished Champion just the year. I read Champion the year just that had just published.
2014 was when it came out.
And I was like, okay, well, might be another one. Then 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and I was like, okay, no.
I think it was kind of a mirroring of the fact that it took 10 years for Day and June to see each other again. So, So I guess I thought mirrored real life.
Yeah, I thought of that
unintentionally. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I thought of that. Like, oh, that's so ironic.
Because, it is ironic.
Yeah, Rebel and Champion is one of my favorite books of all time. Actually, I made my boyfriend read the fourth books.
I'm so happy. I hope he liked that.
Yeah, he did. He
Thank
was
you.
like, it's like what he likes.
Yeah.
He likes action and all of that.
Okay.
And he fell with the romance as well, because I love romance.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. No. I'm like so happy. Like, I cannot believe that I'm still with you. So sorry if I'm a little nervous, because I'm like,
you're doing so great. Thank you. I'm so honored.
Others, the questions that I have been thinking for a while is that, are you planning like to write another genre?
Well, Stars of Smoke is kind of a departure for me, since it's contemporary. It's my first contemporary thriller that I've written, and I've had a lot of fun with it. So I think I've got one more in that one coming out. It's Icon and Inferno. It's coming out next spring/early summer.
Okay.
And I am excited for that one. I hope people will like it. Outside of that, my next book is I can't talk too much about it yet since they haven't announced it, but it's adult, and I'm going back to fantasy for that one. So so I'm excited to return to that. In terms of a genre that I haven't tackled, but I would like to someday, I don't have an idea for it. Someday in the future, I think it would be fun to write a horror of some kind. I like horror. I get very squeamish over horror movies, but I think horror is really cool, especially in book form. And a lot of my favorite books were horror, so I think maybe someday I'll tackle that, but I don't have any plans to do it right away.
Yeah, writing horror can be such a journey.
Yeah,
because it's not the same like with the music. You have to
you have to
you have to feel it and to see like this is so scary, but you are reading it. You are not hearing it.
Yes, it's all in the mind. It's psychological games. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think it can be really cool, and I think you will do a really great job.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you.
Have you ever had a writer's block?
Oh, all the time. I had it like last week. Yeah, I have it all the time. It's never gone away. I think I just find different ways of dealing with it. Yeah. So I mean, when I first started writing, I think the first time I had a really bad writer's block was with Prodigy. Legend came to me really quickly. I wrote it in like 4 months. Prodigy took me a year and a half to write. Yeah, and I remember having a really hard time with it because it was my first time writing a sequel. I had never written a story that was, in the middle. Like, this is basically like the middle chunk of the story, and I didn't know how to structure a story like that, and I would get stuck all the time in the middle. Right now, I've been having writer's block on and off with my adult novel, and I think the structure of adult is so different from the structure of young adult, and it's taken me a lot of work to figure that out, and I think I'm still figuring it out. So I hope you like it.
No, I think I will. I think I will. I'm here since the beginning. I can say like from my since I started reading. I started reading in 2013, so you can imagine.
Thank you so much.
And actually, I was thinking that I wanted to talk about all of the books, and I think we haven't talked about Warcross. And you were mentioning that you work in video games, right?
Yes,
so
that's right.
That's how the idea.
That was the inspiration. Yeah, I loved working.
You wanted to be a hacker. You wanted to break their rules, and I cannot do it, but I can make a person.
That is exactly what I thought. Yes, when I was working, I'm interested in tech. I think tech is really interesting and fascinating and unsettling. It makes me uneasy, but I'm always interested in what's going on with it. I always want to experiment with it. And so when I was in video games, I was kind of surrounded by that. And I got to see, I started writing it right when you started seeing the first inklings of virtual reality coming out, like the goggles, everything, Oculus, what is the name of it? Oculus. And I started thinking about what it would be like to have a game like Warcross in place. And I already had a character in mind. Amika Chen was a character that was already kind of walking through my head. I didn't know what story she would fit into, but I knew I wanted to write about this hacker girl. I love cyberpunk. I always wanted to write a cyberpunk girl, and I knew that she had a story, and I was just looking for that story for her. So I would love to be a hacker. I follow lots of hackers online, but I don't know anything about coding, so I just kind of I'll write about them.
Please don't do it.
Don't
do it
unless you know what you're doing,
and then don't get caught.
And then only be a good hacker. Yeah, you gotta be a white hat.
So don't get caught.
You don't get caught. No.
Yeah, like Amika.
Yeah.
So exciting for me. Like, I cannot believe that I'm here with you talking about your books that I have read since I started reading until now, because I'm reading Sky Hunter 2. It's Steel Striker.
Yeah, Steel Striker. Yeah,
I'm reading that book, and I'm scared. I'm scared. Like, I'm like 60% of the book.
Okay. So, I hope you like the rest of it.
I hope you don't break my heart. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Of course.
And just here to finish, I just wanted you to, if you wanted to say just one word to describe each of your sagas.
So, okay. Ooh, that's a challenge. Okay, just one.
Yeah.
All right. I can do this. Okay, so Legend. Oh my God, just one word. Okay. Revolution, I think, is a good one. The Young Elites. Atonement, I think, because, she starts off dark, and the question is, like, can you redeem yourself after going to the darkness? Warcross, so hard. Okay. This is I don't know if this counts as one word. Pandora's box. Can we count that as one word?
Yeah.
Like concept. Yeah, Pandora's box.
We're gonna write it together.
Yeah, just squeeze it together. Yeah, Kingdom of Back.
Oh, we haven't talked about this book.
Yeah,
it's actually a retelling or something.
It's a historical fantasy about Mozart.
Yeah, I read something.
Yeah.
He has a sister in real life?
He has a sister in real life. I didn't know that until pretty late, in the game. I think I was in college when I learned about that. And she was just as talented as he was. She wrote her own music. She composed. She performed with her brother. They traveled the country as young children, prodigies. They played for kings and queens. But the difference was that she was a woman growing up in 18th century Europe. And at that time, it was illegal for women to become composers. So when she hit 18, she had to stop. And I didn't know any of that. And so when I found out about her, I was like, what? He had a sister. She made music, and none of her music has survived, which I found incredibly tragic. As a person in the creative industry, I found that just heartbreaking that a creative person is held back that way. And who knows how many countless people we have lost that way because of marginalizations. And so I wanted to write a story about her. It's actually a historical fact that when they were children, they created a fantasy kingdom together called the Kingdom of Back that they used to pass the time in carriages. And I thought that would be a great setting for a historical fantasy told from his sister's point of view, about this world that kind of comes to life as she's growing up in this world.
I'm gonna start it right away.
Oh, thanks. I hope you like it.
So that's such a wonderful thing to do. He will be very thankful in the grave.
I hope so. I'm a little nervous because she's a real person, but I hope that more people know about her and know that she was a real person who lived and was a remarkable talent.
Yeah. And if you can say that in one word.
Oh, right. That was the original question.
Yeah, because I was like, we need to talk about all your books, and I was like,
legacy. I think a lot of it is about what legacy are you leaving behind, and whose legacy gets left behind. Okay, where are we? Sky Hunter. Loyalty is a good one. I think Sky Hunter is a lot about loyalty to complicated loyalties to a country that maybe doesn't deserve your loyalty, but nevertheless she gives her love. Loyalty to a found family, her friends, her mother. They have a strong bond, and loyalty to the people you love. I think is it. Yeah. She's my girl. Oh no, that Stars and Smoke. Secrets. I think that was my fun one. I love this series. It's a lot of secrets. Yeah. There's a pop star turned spy, so yeah, he's got to keep that under wraps, and it is a challenge.
I cannot wait to start reading that book as well. But with all the things that you say, this one has clicked something on me, and I'm like, I really want to read that.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm gonna enjoy it. So I think that will be all of the questions. So thank you so much again for your time. It's such an honor to be here with you.
It's an honor to be here with you.
And talk a little bit. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your tour here in Latam in Mexico, and then you're heading to Chile and Argentina. Yeah. So good luck with that.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to have your next books in my hands.
Thank you so much. This is so wonderful. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.